Thank you for downloading another episode of the Time On podcast. On today's show, we are breaking down a massive round one. Of course, we have some tribunal news and also the Tasmania Devils launch today. We'll be unpacking their launch, the logo, the crest, the colours, everything from Tasmania.
Yes, we're going to be looking at our takeaways from round one. Yes, the real round one. We're going to have a little bit of a deeper dive as well into the dark side of social media. Unfortunately, some circumstantial, let's just say some very unfriendly behaviour led to Ash Johnson deleting his Instagram account. We'll be doing a little bit of a deeper dive into what the dark side of social media looks like.
Yes, Nick, 9 games last round, 18 teams. It is time to get into it all. It is time for another episode of Time On.
Here comes Bunny, wheels around, gathers the football. He's kicked the vertical.
Takoe launches from 50.
Came out to Wait. Wait said wait. Got it up to May. Kavala.
Do a push-up with him on top of you, Jakey.
How did he do that?
Flies, pies, win the close one. Collingwood are premiers in 2023.
Was doing that. Why didn't he blow Time On?
Well, that's the thing. Hurd had kicked the ball, then he's brought the hand up for Time On.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Time On podcast. I'm your co-host, as always, Mr. Darcy Slam Duncan, and as always, I'm joined by a man who thought he knew it all. He thought he had it all, but now the questions will be posed to him. It is Magpie fan great, Mr. Nicholas Creckers. How are you today, Nicholas?
Hey, I still have it all. You forget I did win twice.
Well,
now,
that's not what I've heard. I've heard that Swoop Luke has forgotten what it's like to win a premiership after 2 games. He's got his guitar. I expect you to follow suit, actually, Nicholas.
Let me tell you, Swoop Reek knows all about it, all right? Know what winning is. Footy's back, though.
Footy is back.
All
yes.
teams.
How good was it to have all 9 games?
How
Have
good
the
was
mega
it?
walls out. Have the
Oh.
massive slate of AFL action.
Constantly checking the Supercoach scores every single minute. But you know the worst part was Collingwood. We walked into that game, Saturday Arvo, Essendon Hawthorn. Collingwood had already lost 2 games before a ball had even been bounced between Essendon Hawks. That sucked.
Mate, you had the security guards giving you flack.
They
He was
did.
talking about how Collingwood are 0-2. Essendon even played a game yet. It's beautiful, beautiful scene to be above you on the ladder, probably for the only time this season.
No knock Owen jokes. Thank you.
Now, Saturday, we went to the footy together. I know you went on Friday night. We'll unpack a big Sydney Collingwood game. There's a few things we need to get into with that one. But on Saturday, how did you enjoy going to the Essendon Hawthorn game with you and I?
It was good.
You and I,
It was,
with me and yourself.
and our friends. And Dupree. The weather, geez, it was hot. It was hot.
Oh, yeah.
It was shorts and polo sort of weather. Had to don a colo, but short sleeves.
Did you
we
need
waited
some
on.
sort of, I don't know, like a fan to fan yourself
well,
throughout the
luckily I
day?
brought one. Actually,
Oh, I've got the photos. They'll be on the socials at some point.
before we get there, I got berated for bringing a backpack. Oh, I'm sorry. The way I operate, the way I roll to the footy is it's a backpack.
operator.
I'm taking a few snacks and I'm taking, a bit of merch,
Yeah.
whether it's a scarf, and I'm taking my Frank Green bottle.
Exactly, that Frank Green bottle,
I'm
which you've
feeling it.
hidden from a side of the moment, it looks like it's gone through like 10
Under a
different
fist.
surgeries.
Yeah, it's I'm
It's
sporting
looking
a very
all right now.
metallic-
It's a post-Lars Frank Green bottle.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good way of putting it. But I'm filling this thing to the brim with ice, and I'm refilling it at the free water refills. But I'm not there to drink at the footy. I'm a
I know
stone
you are.
cold sober
Well,
operator.
how did you go fraternising with the Essendon folks who need 5 or 6 beers,
Well, yeah.
a couple of roast beef rolls to dull the pain of what is usually an Essendon game?
I think I needed those 4 or 5 beers alone to actually, stand and withstand you guys and just have a bit of Essendon Hawthorn discourse. Got a little bit tipsy at one stage.
did?
It was hot. The weather was a
You
major
disappeared for about half an hour. I thought we lost you.
I had to get a bit of food into me as well. Those roast beef rolls actually
They're
weren't
not
too
bad, actually. They're not bad when you steal them as well, which a couple of my friends do from time to time. The game, it was all right. Not going to get too stuck into that game. You got 2 bottom 4 sides, most likely.
Let's not beat around the bush. Probably 2 bottom 6s.
Yeah.
And it was a contest though. But if it wasn't for Hawthorn's poor kicking, geez, it could have got a bit uglier.
It could have, yes. In that second quarter, Essendon could have been down 3 or 4 goals. Luckily, we were able to turn it on in the back end of that game.
My man Ginnivan rocking the long sleeves in 31-degree weather.
Man.
I don't know about that.
What did you think? First half, it seemed to be all right with the hot conditions, with the long sleeves. Second half, he disappeared, turning to Casper.
It's like, where have I seen this play before? Oh, wait, his career at Collingwood.
Come on.
He was actually really good. I did enjoy his work.
He did look good. If he could be able to sustain it over 4 quarters, it could be a very, very handy player for the Hawks. Just off the back of that game, Nick, Mason Redmond got 1 week for a punch, but it was a punch.
Soft.
Well, it was like not much force. I think it was towards his upper, neck sort of, chestal region, but it slid up into his face. What did we see last week with George Hewitt? He punched Lachie Neale and it slipped, but hit him in the face. He got nothing. Now, the reason why it was 1 week for Redmond and not for Lachie Neale, he was outside of the contest. So apparently Hewitt was playing Lachie Neale inside. I think it was like the ball up or somewhere around the grounds. But Redmond was outside of the contest. So if you punch someone outside of the contest, it's a week. But you can punch someone in the contest and you get away with it.
Right. I don't understand the ruling on that. So either way, the ball wasn't in either of those players' hands.
No.
But they got punched.
Yes.
So one was in the contest, one was out. Okay.
Yes. But don't you feel that it happens in AFL where someone does something wrong early on and they say, all right, don't do it again.
Yeah,
and the next person that does it gets done.
Yeah, that
it
is
happens every year for me.
And exactly round one, it was the second game of the season. You're like, oh, let's be a little bit cagey. We're not going to suspend someone like Hewitt straight off the bat. But we'll penalise the next bloke, and that's what's happening now.
I don't understand, Nick. I don't understand this MRO tribunal bullshit from week to week. And also, Sicily got 1 week for, what was it? See, it was the kick?
It was like a takedown.
Yeah,
or was it the kick?
We were there. I didn't really see it at the time. It was like a UFC takedown, but I feel like his foot was there to cushion the fall after flipping Edgeragro on his head.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a kick. It was more like to cushion the blow as he landed. He just sort of stuck his leg out to sort of break a bit of that fall.
I don't think it's deserving of suspension. No. But as Buck said this morning, it's either nothing or it's 4 weeks. There's no place for kicking in the game. But if you're just putting your foot out there to cushion the fall of a bloke you've decked, then there's probably not weeks, in my opinion. He's also in my Supercoach draft team. That has nothing to do with it. Nick, last bit of really news from this weekend. Tasmania, they launched today at 5:45 on Eastern time. They've got a logo, they've got a crest, they've got a kit, they've got 25,000 fans as well, Nick.
I heard about 25,000 fans. So what are they offering? Was it free? Will they have to sign up? Or?
I actually have no idea what they're offering. It's $10 and you can be a member of the Tasmania Devils. I don't know what the perks of the membership are.
Yeah, right.
But today we got to see what the club's colours look like and their jersey going forward. But you've had a few reservations, Nick.
I'm sorry. They are the most dated, uninspiring and boring, uncreative jerseys or Guernseys I've ever seen. But they've had how many years really to develop this team?
I reckon 5.
So they've had nothing but time, right, to think, hey, let's actually dedicate maybe 5 hours a month to seeing what the Guernsey could look at. And what do they whip out? The stuff that they've been donning, in under 18 championships and VFL sort of cameo appearances. It's so dull. I reckon the Gold Coast one looks better. Yeah. That's how bad we're talking.
I feel there's a lack of originality, but they're trying to tap into the history of the Tasmanian people and of this club. They don't want to alienate them. They want to keep the lifebloods and the attachments they've got from 20 years ago, but you still need to modernise it. I feel like the logo of the Tasmanian Devil is modernised. I like that. Yeah. But I'm with you with the whole picture of the Tasmanian state, the outline of the map. It doesn't really fit with the times.
No, well, the thing is, we live in a day and age where you can literally just get AI-generated imagery. So why not just go, hey, produce me a logo, produce me a jumper, incorporate these factors, incorporate these facts of the past. I'm sure you're going to get a better result than what they just came up with.
I would like to see a bit more originality with the Tasmanian jersey. But besides all that, just generally about Tasmania, I'm feeling confident. Yep. I feel like this will get off the ground. Obviously, the big decision is Saturday at the state election. The Liberal Party has voted back in. Then we've got an agreement with the AFL. It's like a $375 million contract to build the new stadium.
We get really political now.
To have a professional team. I promise I wouldn't get political on the show. It's the undoing of many, many people. But it is crucial to this Tasmanian team getting off the ground. Now, if the Labor government or Labor Party win that election, then there could be a few more issues down the track. We think the Tassie team is planned to come in 2028. But currently not even a piece of soil has been overturned. So it's looking like 2029 or beyond.
Oh, yeah. Put it this way. A stadium, how many seats? Is it 40,000?
I think it's like mid-20s.
Right, okay. Yeah, you're looking at 4 years for a build minimum. So, probably going to be into that 28, probably 29 season, isn't it? The thing is, though, I'm confident. Tasmania, it's a footy state. It's probably really similar to, I guess, South Australia and Western Australia because remind me, in summer it's cricket, in winter it's footy. There's no real... In soccer, is there an A-League team?
No, there's no A-League team. Obviously, you've got the NBL and they've got the Jack Jumpers, but they don't have a lot of professional sporting teams in Tasmania. No. This is why this is such a big deal, and it is footy country.
Yeah, big opportunity, and exactly, there's some absolute legends of the game that have come from Tassie. But the beauty is it's so close to Melbourne, the second, or the home of football. So, very well, easily get... ferries across to Melbourne, flights, I'd imagine shouldn't be that expensive. So I think it's a big win.
I think it's a big win too to have Tasmania in the competition. Just quickly, Nick, what do they need? To get Tassie off the ground and get them successful, they need a good CEO.
Yes.
They need a good coach.
Stability.
They need stability. They need a good footy department. And what sort of concessions should the AFL be giving to them? Do you give them access to 17-year-olds, similar to Gold Coast did? Do you give them 8 of the first 10 draft picks in the first years in the comp? Do you give them the right to uncontracted players to go and snap them up?
Well, if we take it a step back, I feel like GWS and Gold Coast have pretty similar concessions. The thing is, GWS developed their talent and probably picked better talent anyway, so much better than what Gold Coast did. Maybe you could say, well, because they had a second crack at it, they could take the lessons learned from what Gold Coast did wrong, yada, yada. They did have Kevin Cheedy. They had pretty good board as well.
Yes, they had some great veterans as well. They had Chad Corns.
Yep.
They had James McDonald. They had Dean Brogan. Yep. They had Luke Power. They had established premiership players.
Yeah, you definitely need people that have been there and done that and won in the past. So I think you need coach and board stability and you need a really good recruiting manager and like an eye for the future. It can't just be, you got to pick long-term with your draft prospects, but also mature ages. You got to sort of know when to sort of buy those money ball type options, and recruit them. And also, see how many local boys there are.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned local boys. Do you think that Colby McKercher and Riley Centers' heads have already been turned the fact that they were going to have a professional team in about 5 years' time?
Well, definitely.
Do you think? Sorry. It's going to be hard for them to keep the clubs to keep these players.
Sorry, I thought you meant as in will the club make a move for those guys?
Oh, of course.
Look, it's a wait and see. Clarko's at the helm, second year in. I think everyone's got a price, so who knows?
Mm-hmm. Well, similar to Gary Ablett Jr., people didn't think he was going to leave. I saw Collingwood fans put out a crazy scenario today, Nick.
Go on.
Nick Dacos to be the generational captain and franchise player for Tasmania. Please. And they said, whoa, Nick Dacos leave. I'm like, well, Gary Ablett Jr. left.
Please.
That is what I'll say, playing devil's avocado there, Nick.
Yeah, very true. The thing is, well, I was going to say he's, the name Ablett or Gary Ablett Sr. was probably just as big a name, if not much bigger than Dacos.
He was literally called God.
Yeah. I can't see it happening.
No, I'm not trying to roll you up. I'm just
saying that 4 flags by then.
Probably
2 Brownlows, 5 MVPs.
Yeah. He might have 4 wins by then. The way that Collingwood are travelling so far, Nick. That's all it for the Tasmanian Devils launches. Quickly as we finish off our intro, did you enjoy Saturday night at our great friend Yanni's birthday?
Oh, how about it? How about the gyro?
Oh, how about that?
That's exceptional.
Oh, succulent.
The Greek music they rolled out.
That was probably my favourite when the boys were just, what do you call it, when you just slap the floor and there's just a shot there and you shotgun it while doing push-ups?
Oh, it's just the Geffy. It's like a Marbo.
But
the vibe.
What's the Geffy?
Geffy, K-E-F-I. Just a joyful sort of inner spirit. It's just like one of those Greek proverbs. Just having a good time.
Always have a good time at one of your functions or one of my Greek friends' functions. We should probably incorporate that to when our team doesn't play well, we'll just slap on the chair. Well, actually, you've been doing that for the last 30 years already, Nick.
I have.
That is it for the intro. It is time for our round 1 takeaways. Now, naturally, Nick, we have to begin at Optus Stadium last night as the Brisbane Lions got downed by the Freo Dockers. I know you caught at least the first half of this one. Just FYI, these games are getting late. We're older gentlemen. We do struggle to catch the second half of these West Coast games.
6:50.
But what you might have missed is an avalanche of goals by the Fremantle Dockers as they kicked 8 unanswered for the second time in a row against the Brisbane Lions. What were your takeaways out of this one?
Yeah, I'm glad you said it. It's another fade from the Lions, conceding 8 unanswered goals 2 weeks in a row. I mean, they started like a house on fire. You're thinking, okay, they've righted the wrongs from last week. They're 4 goals up to zip. We know Freo struggle to score goals as it is. And then it was just a total capitulation. And that was it. It's like, I don't know, where does it stem from? Is it senior leadership? We understand Neil, their Brownlow medalist, wasn't playing. So the thing is it just one? Is it just down to personnel?
Can't be.
No, it can't be. It's like a mental mindset. I don't know what it is. It's they just struggled. And being away from home as well. No excuses, though.
There are no excuses.
The team's that good.
A lot of times when you see a team lose a grand final, sometimes they have some mental scars. They struggled in the next year. But they played so well against Carlton that I can't see evidence of those scars. It seems to be a complete breakdown of their defense. So they showed some footage on First Crack last night. Constantly, they were playing 5-on-3 in defense. So they'd have two extra defenders. But that means at stoppage and in the midfield, you're completely outnumbered.
Yep.
And the likes of Caleb Strong are going to have 46 disposals if you allow that. And it's going to cut you apart.
Yeah, paid no attention to Caleb Strong as well, who had probably the game of his career. Right
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So is it more defense? Because I still believe in Brisbane's forward line. Their midfield hasn't played that well, especially in the second half of these games. But as we've saw for so many years with Brisbane's defense, it wasn't a great defense. They just held together last year.
I think also what it is, footy in AFL circles, you get found out pretty quickly. Like, you get worked out very quickly. You got that many strategists, defensive, offensive coaches. You know, the coaching boxes in every club are just so stacked, aren't they? You've had 6 months to learn how these guys operate. And round one for Fremantle, all they're thinking about is Brisbane. We're going to nullify this. We're going to pull this lever, and this will cause this action, this consequence. So, you know, I feel like we're 2 games into 24 rounds, is it? So we're like less than 5% into the season, call it. It is early days. I think it's not the be-all, end-all. And they were playing in front of a proud home team, you know, in front of a pretty packed Optus Stadium as well. It's not panic stations, but 2 fade-outs in 2 weeks is a bit of a concern.
It is a bit of a concern. Luckily, they've got the bye this week. They get Lockie Neal healthy. I think it was only tightness is why he missed this game. And obviously the trip to Western Australia. That's like 7 and a bit hours flying.
And the beauty is they've got the week off as well next week. It's probably come at a perfect time.
Yeah.
They've gone into the season, you know, against probably think 2 wins from 2 games.
You would have thought so.
Definitely. And then they've gone 0-2. Now it's a little time to reset. And the likes of Cam Rayner, Charlie Cameron, pretty quiet opening 2 games.
Yeah,
it's
Cameron was very quiet yesterday.
Well, yeah, very. And yeah, so uncharacteristic. So it's a little opportunity for them to recalibrate and play the reigning premiers, Collingwood, Thursday night at the Gabba, who they traditionally own that night.
That'll be such a big game on Easter Thursday. Just quickly to wrap up on this game, Freo, would you impress what you saw out of them, especially the key injuries they suffered?
Yeah.
Oscar McDonald suffering a knee injury, Carl Warner with a terrible, terrible concussion, and who else got injured? Brendan Cox with like a 5-6 month hamstring injury, similar to Matthew Lloyd against the Bulldogs, 2005 or 2006.
Yeah.
Terrible injury suffered by
and
Fremantle.
Nick Grewald as well, 2010.
Oh, yeah. I remember that at the very start of the year, just went between that bad hammy. I was impressed by Freo for their resiliency to respond to these devastating injuries.
Definitely very impressed. We just thought, are they going to put a winning score on? Proved us all wrong.
Absolutely. Their forward line looks much, much better this year. There's only been 1 game. Next game we are going to get into, Nick. It is the Collingwood Magpies being defeated on the MCG by the Sydney Swans. Now, it's not panic stations, not yet, but we know the record of 0-2 teams. Both last year's grand finalists are 0-2, and it feels to me like the problems at Collingwood are not just one line on the ground. They're widespread throughout the midfield, the defence, the forward line. What went wrong from your eyes on Friday night as you watched it live at the MCG?
Yeah, totally agree. It's across all lines. I feel like we just couldn't stick tackles. It was almost like a bees to honey movement in the sense that multiple players would go to the ball carrier. So instead of 1 or 2 going there, it's 3 or 4. That leaves you outer ring exposed. And in Sydney, I mean, their skill level was so high and so precise with their by hand or by foot. They were just getting to that overlap every single time. Errol Goulden had an absolute field day.
Some of the kicks he was pulling off was brilliant.
Unbelievable. Isaac Heaney get on the outside. And then they'll just, the amount of times, I think I counted 5 or 6 goals launched from the goal square. Like, I don't know who was in more trouble, our defence or the corporate box in behind the goals, just getting smashed by the ball.
I think Logan McDonald kicked it into level 4 from the goal line at least 3 times.
Oh, Ryan of Anthony Rocker. I think he kicked it outside of Amy Stadium one night in 03. Like, literally, he kicked the ball outside of the stadium. I had to fetch it back.
That's a Chris Lynn move. They hit the ball outside of the stadium.
But yeah, the problems were widespread. Midfield wasn't running. Uncharacteristic skill errors. Penalty turning over multiple times by
Darcy
foot.
Moore.
Oh, that one broke us. I mean, I think we sort of were mounting some sort of challenge, going across goal. You know, we looked slow. We looked really unsure of where to move the ball. It reminded me of Buckley's last year in 2021.
Oh, no.
It was slow movement around the line, down the contest. Mason Cox probably, look, he was much better than last week, but he wasn't sort of winning the ball to the ground as often. And our smalls were just non-existent. It was a humbling game. I really thought we were going to come out, make a statement, and it was the exact opposite.
I thought you'd come out firing. It'd be a big statement game for the Pies. You're on your way back at home, the MCG. The flag unveiling at 1 in the afternoon would have got all the Pies fans to the ground. But it's just it didn't feel that way. It didn't go that way.
No.
And you talk about your forward half. Lockie Chilter's come in, hasn't quite found the tempo just yet. Ash Johnson, not quite a number one key forward. There seems to be a few holes that need to be figured out in the next couple of weeks at Collingwood in the forward line. And defensively, you just didn't look the same exiting the ball outside your D50. In the Swans, as I said last week, number one pressure team in the competition, been that way for 3 years. I think their pressure rating was like 15 points above the average from last year. You really did struggle to move the ball from end to end.
Well, I noticed as well in a couple of contests, let's say a high ball was going up, it was a bit of like a my man's got this mentality and I'll just sort of creep around the outside and expect him to win it. But the thing is, when you got 3 players going for the ball and all in that mindset, you don't end up winning it. So that happened so many times. Just uncharacteristic sort of decisions being made. So look, I think we're not that far off it, but we definitely need a change. Man, Saints won't be easy at the G next week.
It will not be easy at all. We know it's going to be a dour, low-scoring game. It's going to be an absolute dogfight. I mean, Saints aren't going to score probably 80 points, but it's going to be a struggle for you to get those points where your forward line is functioning at the moment. Sydney, just quickly, they look like one of the best teams in the competition this year. They really use the width of the ground on Friday night to their advantage, and they're great runners. They're willing to take the game on, and the reason why they got so many wide open goals, they didn't have to take any set shots, is because they were able to break down the zone that you're employing and just chip it over the top, because you give your defenders a lot of leg rope, as they'd say. You give yourselves a lot of space, but when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong.
Yep, totally agree.
The next game we'll move on to, Nick, is the Melbourne Demons defeating the Western Bulldogs at the MCG on Sunday afternoon. Now, the demise of Melbourne is probably overstated last week after one game by both of us. They looked really good in this one, and it was the performances of Max Gawn and particularly Clayton Oliver with 35 disposals. I know you caught some of this game. I personally was really impressed by what the Demons did in their forward half, which has been a big issue for them for years gone by. Now, of course, the Doggies are not exactly a strong defense. They've got a lot of questions that we're going to bring up from this game. What did you make of the Demons' performance? Because I was quite impressed after last week's poor performance.
Yeah, I think Max Gawn doing what he does best. Just he had rarely any attention paid to him as well. He was just able to do anything he wanted. So he absolutely dominated the contest. And then also Petrarca and Oliver. We saw back to their best as well, especially Clayton Oliver. He was running so well across the ground.
He was. And especially that goal in the second quarter that he got off to Alex Neilborn with a nice finish. I hadn't seen him run that hard this season, particularly the back end of last year with a hamstring injury. He ran 150 metres to get that ball and was able to break the contest. What did you make of that D's forward line you were so critical on a week ago? Did you see much improvement from them, or they just played a team which is on the peripheral edges of the top 8?
Bit of both. Look, they did get Kasai Pickett back, so, personnel.
2 goals looked handy.
Yep, looked very handy. And then also, the Western Bulldogs defence. I know, it is round 1 for them as well, so it was their first hit out. But it's probably not the most challenging and inspiring defence.
No, they do struggle to lock down, particularly smaller forwards. But I was really concerned about is the Dogs didn't look prepared for this game. Jack Billings had like 10 or more uncontested marks, and they allowed that all game. Now, the Demons, are a great contest team, not necessarily a great transition team. They were able to transition against the Dogs far too easily in this game, and Ben Brown's opportunities, Cozzy Pickett's, they weren't hard chances. They were directly straightforward shots, and if the Dogs want to be serious this year, they need to make a few personnel decisions, in my opinion.
What did you make of Caleb Daniels starting as sub?
Well, we called it. We called Buku Karmas would be in the starting 18, and it didn't go that well because Ben Brown got a hold of him a couple of times, but it seems so odd. You got Lockie Bramble, who was on the scrap heap from Hawthorn. You've got Buku Karmas, who was a Category B rookie. You've got Lockie McNeil, who was a nothing draft pick, and you've got Caleb Daniel wearing the vest, who's an All-Australian Premiership player, one of the best kicks still in the competition.
Literally, one of the most skillful
players. Can you
players.
explain to me, because I don't think Dogs fans understand, I don't think any AFL fan understands, why was Caleb Daniel the sub? Why is Jack McRae playing VFL? And why is Aaron Norton playing centre-half forward?
Sorry, Jack McRae was fit this weekend?
Well, he played VFL. So I don't know if he was fit for an AFL game.
Fair enough.
He played well in the VFL. But why are all those things happening? Why is Sam Darcy playing in the VFL kicking 5? And you got Aaron Norton in the forward line when you need a gun centre-half back?
Yeah, that's a big one. When's the trigger going to be pulled where they just go, okay, Sam Darcy, we're just going to keep you. I know you're raw, keep you up forward. And then Norton goes centre half back. That's
the issue. They've got too many tools, and they've also got Croft coming through as well. They don't have the right balance. No. Don't you think this team needs a key back? They had to get Liam Jones out of retirement, and he instantly became their key back.
Yes.
Why don't you use Aaron Norton as a key back when he was a gun key back as a junior?
And you just signed him up for how many years? On
100 years.
Yeah, Bevo. Look, big question marks. If we see the same pattern again in the next 2 weeks, like with these personnel ins and outs and on-field positions, it's just going to reek of the last 2 seasons.
I know. More and more pressure on the Western Bulldogs. We know how talented they are, but they can't seem to pull it together. Just quickly on that game, how good was the debut of Matty Hill on Fox Footy? His first senior game. I love him. Any racing fans who really had no sport to watch during COVID, we watched racing.com every single day. Matty Hill is such a fantastic broadcaster. I'm just glad the footy community now is understanding how good he really is.
Alligator blood, 150 metres to go, 2 lengths in front. I'm thunderstruck, needing to get there. Alligator blood tiring. I'm thunderstruck over the top, rumbling hard and got up. I'm thunderstruck, I reckon's just beaten Alligator blood into beauty. Third in the race, Mo'unga, followed by Cascadian, and behind them Nonconformist. Then Western Empire, Regal Power, and She's Ideal. It's a photo finish.
Next game we're going to touch on, Nick. I'm going to let you introduce it because I know you're such a big fan of both these teams. It was down the highway as the Geelong Cats defeated the St Kilda Saints.
It was in front of a bumper crowd, 39,352 I read. The Cats,
according to the run sheet.
The Cats, though, they know how to find young talent. It's those no-namers that they pick deep in the draft. So, Ollie Dempsey, remind me, who is this player?
Who played last year?
Harry
I think
Grammer?
I think he might have been in some Supercoach teams last year. Didn't really.
Yes.
He failed to fire as a third tall. And he pops up with 3 goals.
3 goals. Round 1 rising star. And Max Holmes, we know he's a pretty big talent as well.
Dude, we do.
Collingwood linked heavily.
I think linked to everyone these days.
I do say that.
Yeah, that midfield's not looking too good.
Bailey Smith as well. Thank you very much. 23 touches from Holmes. And Danger, game winner at the end.
Oh.
Pretty
That
good
did a
set
left
shot.
to right swing. Looking like Mitchell Stark out there.
But the thing is, they got out to a couple 3-goal leads, and then they were pegged back as well by the Saints. Saints were very resilient.
Yes, they kept coming.
On the road as well, GMHBA, in front of a packed crowd. That was a really good game from the
Yes,
Saints.
I think they passed the test. Like, we expect them to lose. Most people expected them to lose, but to lose in that fashion, they have lost no fans. And you mentioned the Cats. Just talk to me about some of these guys they pull out of their arse every year. Stephen Wells and Andrew Mackey are just geniuses when it comes to drafts or recruiting players.
Geniuses. I'm going to rattle off. These are going back from the last 15 years. Like Tom Atkins, very recent. Mark Blitzarves. Sam Menegola. I mean, how many lists was he on before he actually got picked up?
I think it's his third list.
Was he at Essendon for
He might have had a
brief
brief
period
period at Essendon, maybe a brief period at the Saints as well.
J-Pod? James Pod's He was at Collingwood for a bit?
He was at
Pretty good
Essendon.
game. Yeah.
He was at Essendon's team in 2000. He was playing in the VFL.
Then after Geelong as well, he went to Adelaide, didn't he? For a little,
Yes, he
for a
did. He
minor
played,
stint.
I think, maybe 2 years at Adelaide. Played decently in that first year. But J Pod's kicked like 60 goals in a premiership winning team.
Yes, absolute journeyman. No, absolute champ for those periods of time. Max Rook, the rookie draft. Tom Lonergan.
Yes.
Jack Henry.
Yes.
Harry Taylor. Tom Stewart was picked deep into the draft.
He was
Wasn't he?
picked like 30 or mid-20s.
But as a 21-year-old?
Yes, I mean, maybe even older,
Maybe
playing in
older.
Geelong's VFL team.
These guys, Mark Blitzarves will double up there. These guys pretty much formed that back half. You got Lincoln McCarthy, who they did lose to Brisbane, but they just know how to find him. And then, of course, Tim Kelly. He was drafted as a 21-year-old
21, 22-year-old, yep.
Was he leading the Brownlow in his
came-
first 5 weeks?
He probably was. He
was
came
close to it.
third in the Brownlow as an All-Australian in his second season.
That is
and they
remarkable.
used that capital to flip it into Jeremy Cameron.
They did pretty well there.
They did very, very well. The Cats,
They had
where
fun.
do you see them coming this year? I'm not too sure whether this is a finals team.
They're knocking down the door because I know just how proud a club they are, and they know how to win. Last year was a bit of an outlier. The exit of Joel Selwood, the loss of form as well. I think in front of a normal GMHBA stadium, it's going to be packed every week, more or less. They're going to win those home games, probably only drop a couple max per season. I reckon, I think I had them for 9th. I reckon they'll be knocking on the door of the top 8.
I agree. I think they're going to be knocking on the door of the top 8. They've got these home games, and they should win a lot of them. And really, Jeremy Cameron, he kicked probably the goal of the year already. If he's fit and firing, he's a very, very hard player to stop. The Cats could easily make the 8. And I'll be wrong again, similar to the Sydney Swans, who are probably going to start the season 7-0. Final one, Nick. We're talking about the Gold Coast Suns and their great victory over the Adelaide Crows. But more than just some sort of match recap, we want to talk about some of the great midfielders on the Gold Coast, in particularly Matty Rowell, who is now second in the AFLCA voting. Nick, what did you catch from this game, and in particular, there's some of the great midfielders from the Suns and their development over this offseason?
Well, it's Matt Rowell now fit and firing, well and truly put his knee injuries behind him. And Noah Anderson and Tuke Miller, who's come back to his best form. Like that's probably 3 of the most hard-running gut running, contested balls.
clearance pieces. And the numbers have stacked up. They've been a great clearance team. It's everything else that's fallen away.
That's right. So, I mean, if they can just stay on the park and just continue with their chemistry, they haven't probably played too many games altogether, the three of them at once.
No, you'd be correct.
There's always two of them.
Always two of them. So Anderson and Rao, they're pretty healthy. They played a lot of football outside Rao's very first couple of years. Sam Flanders, as we mentioned as well, who's come into that midfield mix, he hasn't really played that much before the back end of last year, and Took missed a large portion of last year. So to have probably 3 A graders in Rao, Anderson and Took, and a B plus grader in Sam Flanders, not many teams have that depth, let alone having a brilliant ruckman and Jared Witts tipping it down to them.
Yeah, I mean, when you got an A-grade ruckman like Witts as well, giving them first supply, you're going to win more clearances than you're not. The thing is, I feel like their forward line's probably still got some upside. I mean, Jack Lukosius hasn't probably set the world on fire, in these first 2 games.
He's decent against Richmond, but it was a blowout win.
Yeah,
he can get to another level. And Ben King was goalless in this game as well because it was very slippery Gold Coast dewy conditions. It was like a cake of soap, so it was hard to kick goals in this game. But you mentioned Flanders, Anderson, Rao. You were talking to me about the 2019 draft earlier today. This really set up the Gold Coast for the next sort of 7-8 years with the midfielders they picked.
Yeah, they have. And I know we float the word super draft all the time. Yeah, you always think back to 01. But honestly, I'm going to rattle off some names in the 2019 draft. Pick 1, Matty Rao. 2, Noah Anderson. 3, Luke Jackson. 4, Lockie Ash. 5, bit of a bust. You had Dylan Stevens going to Sydney. 6 was Fisher McCasey. Adelaide, I think he retired.
He retired, yes. He didn't quite able to figure it out at the elite level, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hayden Young at 7.
Solid.
Caleb Sarong at 8.
Freak.
Liam Henry at 9. Now St Kilda. You got Tom Green at pick 10.
Yes, as an academy selection.
Sam Flanders at Gold Coast with 11. So they got
Cozzy Pickett at 12 and Will Day at 13. This is a very, very nice draft, Nick.
I mean, who else we got? We've got Cody Waitman at 15. Brody Kemp at 17. Mitch Georgiadis at 19.
And Premiership
18,
Premiership fullback Sam de Koning as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty tidy top 20. I think that stacks up with some of the best in the past 10 years.
It absolutely does. And as we mentioned, that some of the best ball winners in the competition are only, 22, 23 years old. Rao, Anderson, Caleb Sarong and Tommy Green. These are going to be the stars of the competition for the next 10 years or so. And Gold Coast have 3 of them potentially.
Well, that's right. You're entering your 5th pre-season. So, assuming it's been uninterrupted, you're about to enter, the start of your prime. So already we're seeing that clearance machine working at the Gold Coast Suns. It's just, can they get the other ends of the ground in as good an order?
Absolutely. We're very impressed with what the Gold Coast has shown after 2 rounds. Hopefully they can keep it up and we'll enjoy some brilliant Gold Coast footy for the rest of the season. That is it for our big takeaways from round 1 of the 2024 season. We're going to have a quick break and we'll be back to talk about some not so great stuff that happened on the weekend on social media.
Yeah, so Darcy, I thought this one's a bit more of a topical one, just with what happened over the course of the weekend. Ash Johnson picked as our the Collingwood Football Club's second tall. It's a bit of a tall order, expecting him, who's traditionally played as a third tall, to play as that sort of primary target alongside Brody Myercheck. Let's face it, probably wasn't the best 2 games he's put together against GWS and now Sydney. Now, sadly, Ash Johnson just copped an absolute torrent of abuse on online social media to the point where he actually deleted his Instagram account. I mean, people forget it's so easy for social media keyboard warriors to just go and launch in and attack an athlete, but we forget that these people are human beings. At the end, first and foremost. So it's actually disgusting because it's so cheap and it's so cowardly to do such a thing. You can be critical of someone's performance without resorting to abuse and tormenting someone. But I mean, that's just not on.
There's no place for it in the game, Nick. Unfortunately, it has become part of the game. Players are subjected to abuse, vitriol. I mean, the problem is social media has become so big that everyone thinks they've got their say on just about every single footy issue. And also the fact that the gambling's become such a big part of the sport, and if someone doesn't have enough disposals for their multi, they're going to start in their DMs telling them they're a hack, they're abusing their family. I don't know. It's something that I think we'll struggle to get away from in the future because people, they're so passionate about this game. All they care about is a 4-quarter result that they think it's okay to unfairly attack someone just because they see him on the television.
Yeah, correct. It's just so unfair. You're so self-absorbed in, whatever agenda you want to go on, and, someone's let you down on a multi, someone's lost a game for you. Like, honestly, it's at the end of the day, who cares? You can't resort to that sort of stuff. We've seen it with people who are racially vilified as well. It's hard. You're never going to stamp it out. but you just need to keep calling it out and penalising the people that do.
Absolutely. Keep calling it out. Now, you mentioned that this is something that's really affected young men, and particularly all young people. Happened a couple of years ago as well with Jack Ginnivan. He was subject to a lot of criticism and abuse on social media. Was it when he was a Collingwood player? Is this when after Anzac Day, or is this other issues you're talking about?
I'd say probably around Anzac Day is the start of it, 2022. You know, obviously won the medal, he dyed his hair, got that haircut. Was probably, I reckon it all started, to be honest, by the AFL media. I mean, Kane Cornes calling him out for the GoPro incident after round one. And then just it just sort of created, it was the perfect storm in a teacup.
And I think, to be honest, to be fair with Jack, he didn't mind the attention.
No.
But he obviously didn't expect it to go to the level it did. And I think after Anzac Day, he went out with a couple of friends. Did he got like a slap on the wrist for having a beer or something?
Yeah, I think he had a few friends over.
Apart from that, I think the public perception of Jack Ginnivan came from, oh, what a great story, a player from the rookie list who's playing for Collingwood, to who's this flog think he is? He's not even that talented. I'll bash him if I saw him in real life, yada, yada, yada.
Not to mention as well, probably playing for free kicks as well, which irks any typical supporter.
Absolutely, that's a good point.
It drives them, crazy and shits them up the wall. But, I mean, there was other players that are also sort of doing that and have done that for a number of years. But, hey, Jack Ginnivan, here we go, blonde hair, he plays for Collingwood, perfect villain. Like, I'm going to absolutely bury this.
And let's be serious.
He's 19.
People go to the football, or they invest in the football to get out their rage, to get out all the things that have been pent up inside them over the week, to escape the world that is their lives. And unfortunately, they don't want to attack people who are on the world stage. And that happened to Jack Ginnivan. It's happened with Ash Johnson. This isn't just Collingwood players, though. It's affected all AFL players. There's other examples here, Nick.
Well, look at another one. Taylor Harris, cross codes in AFLW. I mean, she was vilified for that iconic photo when she it was that set shot she took.
Yes.
And it was that long, I guess, that her long legs sort of outstretched as she kicked. I mean, the amount of abuse she got for that photo by men was ridiculous.
I know, it's ridiculous. Because men, they see a woman miss a shot and goal and think, oh, they don't deserve to be on my television. Or like, why are you hyping up a game that makes no money? The tickets are free. No one gives a shit. Really? Is that all that matters to you in your life? Do you really give that much of a fucking stuff about someone's game, someone's livelihood? You need to message people to go on social media and say, I don't like it.
You can't bring yourself, like you can't even think.
It's not something that really, not that thought enters our mind, but how someone could actually want to do that. Correct. I can't really comprehend.
No logical, normal person would do that. Like, you're watching a game, someone misses a shot on goal. You're not resorting to getting your phone out and just absolutely berating them.
I bet the world cares about what I have to say.
Pulling up their Instagram photo, going on Instagram profile, going on a photo with maybe them and their partner from 100 weeks ago and abusing them on a comment. It's just not rational.
It makes very little sense to me. And it's not just Australian rules football. It happens all over the world in terms of all the biggest sports stars. You think, oh, someone like Kevin Durant, he's probably made $500 million in his playing career. He would have the thickest skin ever. He doesn't give a stuff what I say. But really the person that is Kevin Durant and his outward perception to what people think of him, it changed when he joined the Golden State Warriors after he left Oklahoma City Thunder. And part of that was the criticism he received. It was part of the abuse he received and the fact that no one would give him credit for what he'd done in his career. And it changed who he was as a person. He then embraced this villain role. I'm worried that we're going to lose people that want to contribute to the media, that want to contribute to fans, that want to have this engagement, just because people think it's okay to abuse them for no reason at all.
It's hard. I know, and footy, like, we're such a grassroots community sort of vibe sport. We don't want to ever lose the athletes not being able to connect with the fans. I mean, look, for Collingwood's sake, Fly McRae was so conscious of bringing the fans along for the journey and having that connection. I mean, Kevin Durant, so he was, a local Oklahoma.
Well, he was drafted by Oklahoma City Thunder. Well, drafted by Seattle Seahawks, technically.
Hadn't won a championship, obviously.
No, Oklahoma City had never won a championship. Yep. So he was very close to winning a championship into the finals in 2012, lost to the Golden State Warriors in 2016. Part of the abuse, though, is because he lost to his arch rival and then joined that arch rival.
So what's the equivalent? It's like, what, Tom Lynch playing for Richmond, having not won, and then moving to Collingwood the year after.
Yeah.
Imagine it was like 2019, and say we had won the grand final. So Collingwood beaten Richmond in the grand final, and then he jumping ship the following year.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then everyone going absolutely bonkers at him.
Well, it is very similar to Tom Lynch in that Tom Lynch joined Richmond at the end of 2018 after they had that successful season but lost in the preliminary final. Yep. The Golden State Warriors had already won a championship, similar to Richmond, but then they had an unsuccessful 2016 after they'd been the best team in the league all year. Then Durant says, all right, I'm going to join the team, which looks like the most likely to win the title. So he quickly did what Tom Lynch did. And now Tom Lynch has received criticism for that, for making that move. But at the end of the day, are you going to begrudge him? He won. He achieved what he wanted to in his life. He achieved the highest level of success at a team level.
Yeah, spot on. And remind me, so Kevin Durant, how much money was he on? Hundreds of millions?
Per year, he would have been on probably 30. Yeah, I mean, currently Steph Curry's the highest paid player at about 50 million. Yep. But 8 years ago, I think Katie would have taken less as well. So probably in the mid-30s. I don't have the exact figure.
And he still speaks about how it affected him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, I guess...
He's still got that chip on his shoulder. That's why he then left Golden State to join Brooklyn, because people discredited the things he did at Golden State.
At Brooklyn were an upcoming sort of struggling team?
They'd struggled. I think he more wanted to be with the Brooklyn culture and build his own team with Kyrie Irving and then later James Harden. But then that team fell apart and people abused him more for being a team obliterator. Wow. So you really can't win with the media sometimes. Even when you do things right, people are going to look at your shortcomings.
No matter what his salary was, per season, he's not immune to copping abuse.
No one is.
Yeah, that's unfair.
Well, Bucks talked about it today with Kane and Bucks. He said, it's terrible, but it's something that all players face in their career at some point. You're going to be kicked into the dirt and questioned whether you're good enough to be in this league. Even the star players in this game, and it's about how you manage it from there.
Well, I guess that's why clubs are so big on getting psychologists now into their four walls and helping these young men navigate their way through the ups and downs of a season. Because when it's good, it's good, and when it's bad, it's bad. And it's just trying to bridge the gap between those two extremities.
Absolutely. Last year, how good was it in Collingwood? You're winning every game. People are loving you. Everyone's second team is Collingwood. You start 0-2 and the knives come out. That's just how it works, unfortunately. And they're going to look for easy targets like Ash Johnson or in the past, Jack Inovan.
It is really, really displeasing.
Well, that's all the meaty part of this week's episode of the Time On podcast. Nick, for the outro, I wanted to ask you, what the hell do you have planned this weekend? There's no big 30th. Collingwood, they have a game, but that's on Thursday. What have you got planned for this week? Are you just going to be putting the face paint on for the next 3 days and picking out your favourite lanyards?
I'm not. Well, the best thing is, Collingwood's playing on the Thursday, so that gets out of the way.
We like that.
No, I've organised a brunch with an old friend. Saturday night, it's going to be a relaxing one. I need to catch up on a bit of sleep. Get back into my hot mat Pilates. I'm a big fan.
I thought you were doing that in your bedroom because it's 50 degrees up there every night.
Till the aircon's sorted. Yeah, that's a work in progress. Hopefully this week, actually. Too broke. So we're working on that. But no, I think probably gelato. It's a nice hot day. It's a nice weather as well this weekend, I think.
Is it a little bit cooler, is it?
About 24 and sunny, which is pristine.
That's some good footy weather. I don't know about these 30-degree days. I can't really stand up in the heat, especially when you're wearing the long sleeves.
With the Ides of March.
Jerseys.
With the Ides of March. Yeah, cool down.
Now, a nice, relaxing weekend watching... there's only 8 games of footy this weekend because we've got 2 teams on the bye. Carlton and the Brisbane Lions will be on the bye. I'm looking forward to sitting at home on the couch and watching all the games unfold. As the Bombers head to Sydney as well, we have one eye on that game with our VFL backline, it looks like, in that contest. But I'm looking forward to watching all the footy this weekend as well.
Plus, mind you, we've got Easter break coming up the week.
Yes, that's right.
That'll be a big weekend for me personally, going out to an event.
What's on there?
Electric Gardens.
What's that?
DJs.
What's Electric Gardens?
Ahmed Van Helden, Sasha, and Roger Sanchez just
wow,
mixing some wax in.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's gonna be grouse.
So that's Easter. Then you've got your actual Easter the following weekend.
5 weeks later.
Wait, what?
Yes.
How do you have Easter 5 weeks later?
There's some calendar. There's some lunar.
What
bullshit.
are you on the Mayan calendar?
At the end of the day, it's all fake. It just doesn't. It's all made up.
We talked politics, and now is this talking religion?
We're getting flat Earth type.
We're getting deep into the weeds here, Nick. Okay, we'll worry about Easter when we get to Easter. In your case,
there will be
Christmas time.
There will be a Yiddo though, mind you.
Okay,
and you're invited.
Just send me the invitation. That's all I need to know, Nick. That's all I need to know. If you want to catch this show this week, it'll be out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts on Tuesday evening.
Hannah's.
Wait, what's that? Who?
Well, should we?
Would we have a guest in a couple of days' time?
Yes, we have got a guest coming up.
It'd be no one of note.
Premiership player. Recently retired.
Billy Frampton?
AFLCA champion, player of the year, 2014.
2014 or 2015?
15.
Might have been 15. I have to fact check it with ourselves.
We'll have a check with him.
Who is this? Who is this brilliant ball-winning gut runner you speak of?
Dan Hanbury.
Mr. Daniel Hanbury will be joining the Time On podcast.
Fucking Hannah's.
I cannot wait for this one. One of my favourite players growing up as a kid. Supercoach legend as well. But just one of those classy ball winners who would run all day and kick big goals in big spots.
Just tough as well. That's what I love about
I think he embodied that Bloods culture. I
took
know
the words from me.
Back in his career wasn't quite what everyone would have hoped, but those first 8 years, they were as good as any midfielder in the competition. Rising Star Award winner as well. What a tremendous player Daniel Hanbury was. If you want to get some questions in for Hannah's, check us out at timeon.podcast@outlook.com or on Instagram. We'll open up the messages. Is that it, Nick? Is that it for episode 39 of the
That's
Time
it.
On podcast? We'll bid everyone adieu, and we'll see them on probably later in the weekend or early next week for the Daniel Hanbury interview. Sounds good, Nick. Sounds good. You didn't say anything? Okay, we'll just keep going along with the show. TimeOn.podcast on Instagram and TikTok. TimeOn.podcast@outlook.com on your emails if you still use your emails, and Time On Podcast AFL on the YouTube page. Everybody, footy is back. We've got 8 big games in round 2. Let's get stuck into it once again, and most importantly, go Bombers.